Hey, good morning, everyone, and a good Erev Shabbos. So, over the last 10 months, we unfortunately haven't been able to have guests inside our home for safety reasons, only outside. But anyone that's ever been to my house for Shabbos morning, for Shabbos dinner, knows this picture right behind me and knows how proud I am of this picture. Let me explain you for a minute, in case you haven't been here, and bring you into a moment that's ingrained in my mind and will never leave me. You see, this is a Hasidic gathering with the Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memory. And the Rebbe would gather every Shabbos and on special dates during the year in middle of the week. And when it was a weekday, they would have it live on cable TV. Now, if you see, there's thousands of Chassidim. There's men all over here. There's women up there, all over. There were thousands, and of course on the other side. But who was right near the Rebbe? A lot of little kids. Now, if you look a little closer, and I'll try to bring you in, this child right here by the wall, do you see? By the pole, that is me. 1987 circa. Okay? Now, let me explain you something here. I merited to grow up in New York. And my parents should live and be healthy. Always inspired me and always pushed me to come listen to the Rebbe's words. Now, there were hundreds of kids, but kids didn't understand the deep thoughts. They would play hopping tag outside. They would run around. They would stay home with their friends. But my dad, from when I was a 2-3-year-old boy, always told me, Mendy, come, listen to the Rebbe, stand next to the Rebbe. Even if you don't hear, your soul will hear and will be inspired and it'll stay with you forever. And I am forever grateful to my parents for instilling within me this love to be around the Rebbe. Because when I was only 15 years old, the Rebbe got sick, which he never recovered from. But these moments and these hours and these years that I spent by the Rebbe are a gift of a lifetime that continue to inspire me and hopefully those around me. Why am I telling you this today? Tonight is the 10th of Shvat. And the 10th of Shvat is the 70th year celebration of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's leadership and his impact on the world. Now remember, the Rebbe came on the last boat from Europe before the war, from France, literally being saved at the last moment from the Nazis. And he took over the leadership in 1950, a mere 5 years or less after the Holocaust finished. Imagine the shatters, tens of thousands of Chassidim and millions of Jews going into the gas chambers and being killed. And the Rebbe had to re-establish and lift up Jewry. And many leaders focused inward. And of course we know that the Rebbe focused outward. The Rebbe said, if we don't bring in every Jew and inspire more, how could we ever face God? But I want to tell you something. You know, when the Rebbe passed away in 1994, I remember a quote that someone said then that rings so true. The Rebbe had no children, but he left so many orphans. And one of the most special, unique things about the Rebbe was his love and endearing towards children. Now imagine, look at this picture. There's thousands of people, great sages, rabbis, businessmen, community leaders. But who's right around the Rebbe? The children. Every spot was precious. People fought for a spot. But the Rebbe always wanted the children next to him. And in fact, even on Shabbos in the later years, when the Rebbe's voice was very weak, and the Rebbe wouldn't use a mic on Shabbos, and barely a few hundred of the people could hear him, the Rebbe always had the kids next to him. And for many years, till my bar mitzvah, I stood right there at that pole, and later moving to a spot right here. This week's Torah portion, we read the story of Pidyon Haben, when we redeem our firstborn. And the mitzvah of redeeming the firstborn, which we actually just did in our community a few weeks ago or 2 months ago, Jake Hassan had a boy. The Kohen comes and you give the Kohen $5 silver. Silver, the value of them are each, it's special silver, they're valued at about $100. And the Kohen looks at you and says, B'mai ba'is tvei, what would you prefer? Do you prefer the coins, the money, or do you prefer your new firstborn baby? The question is that this is a ridiculous question. Which newborn parent that just went through so much to have a child, all the pains of labor and pregnancy and all the costs involved and future costs, right? When the kid's born, they're already saving for college. So what do you think? The kid's going to say, the father's going to say he'd rather have the money than the child? But in a very beautiful thought, the Rebbe tells us something very important. That really what's happening is here, that we're telling the father, of course we're not asking him right now, would you prefer the money or the child? We know he's going to say he prefers the child. But what we're saying is like this, you're becoming a new parent. It's your first child. And we want you to remember, for the rest of your life, as you nurture and educate and bestow love on this child, every time there's a question, should I go to that business dinner or should I go to my kid's baseball game? Should I study Talmud with my son or go to shul? Or should I rather just sleep in and check my social media? Every time, ask yourself that question. What do I prefer? My child or the money? What's more important to me? Is it fame? Is it material success? Or is it spiritual connection and bonding and enduring with our children? And that's such a powerful lesson that we teach this newlyweds. And we really have to ask ourselves every single day, B'mai ba'is tvei, what do you prefer? Money or the future of Judaism, the Kinderlach? And that's what the Rebbe taught me. Tonight we celebrate 70 years of the Rebbe's impact and leadership. And guess what? The Rebbe's impact and leadership wasn't just to Chabad Chassidim. The Rebbe impacted the entire Jewish world and even beyond. The Rebbe focused on the 7 Noahide laws for Gentiles. The Rebbe focused on outreach to every corner of the world. They used to say wherever there's Coca-Cola, there's Chabad. And then they found out that there's places that there's Chabad, that there's no Coca-Cola. When Dubai opened up, there was a Chabad there already. If it's Tunisia, if it's Morocco, if it's Siberia, if it's Smolensk, if it's Chestnut Hill, the Rebbe thought about every Jew and every human being. And tonight we celebrate 70 years of his leadership and his impact. And it behooves each and every one of us this Shabbos to strengthen our connection with our children, with our Judaism, with our spirituality. You know, today, everything's at your fingertips. The Rebbe wrote hundreds of volumes of Torah thoughts, of ideas, of spirituality. And you could just go on the Chabad.org or on your app or on Chayenu, and you could be able to study and connect intellectually with the Rebbe's ideas that changed and impacted the world. And I'll finish with one story I want to tell you. One Shabbos, when I was a little child, and I was at the Fabrengen, and I was standing there, or maybe I was sitting up front, and the way it worked was, everyone took their little cup, and they would fill it up with wine, and they would turn towards the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would look at everyone, and he would nod to them and say, L'chaim v'libracha, to life and to blessing. To every single person, they would sing a song, and the Rebbe would spend 10-15 minutes, and this would go on between each talk. And one time, I must have been 7, 8 years old, and the Rebbe had his Kiddush cup up there, where he had made Kiddush from, and I had said L'chaim already to the Rebbe, and I was a kid. So I was taking the cup, and I was playing with it, and I was bending it, and I was breaking it. And then the Rebbe turned back, and he looked down at me with a smile, and he saw me holding a cup, and he nodded his head, and I didn't do anything. I had already said L'chaim. So the Rebbe had told me to drink the wine, the little Kiddush wine. Well, guess what? My cup was empty. So the Rebbe took his Kiddush cup and he turned to me and he poured from his Kiddush cup into my little cup. And the Rebbe told me to say L'chaim, and he smiled to me and he made with his hand like this to me. And I think about it today. Now, I'm a grown man. I was a young kid, maybe 8, 9. I don't remember my exact age when this happened. All I remember is that after the gathering, when my dad saw me, he said, "Why didn't you say me any of the Kiddush cup so I could have some of the Rebbe's blessings?" But I remember thinking to myself, what the Rebbe taught me then, b'may bois tvei, the Rebbe taught me love for children, love for the future generation. The Rebbe had no children in a physical sense, but he has millions of spiritual children through his impact. And I ask you to this Shabbos, say a toast, say a l'chaim for the Rebbe, and let his leadership, his warmth, his love, his blessings, let it nurture you to touch another soul, to touch another child, in a sense where you lift them up to become better human beings and closely connected to God. Shabbat Shalom. May God bless us all. See you next week.